in honor of former Cleveland Cavalier and Notre Dame alum, Luke Herringody. Welcome into the 44th episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. I am Kevin alongside my good friend and co-host Jerome. Behind the camera is producer Eric, as always. Jerome, we're recording this a little bit early this week, Tuesday evening, as producer Eric will be going back down to Cincinnati, is what I like to call it, Cincinnati, Kentucky area.
Same thing.
To visit some family of his. He's going down there, so we'll have to. We're recording here Tuesday night. How we doing, buddy? It's September 2nd, just past Labor Day as we record.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Banged up the knee a little bit this weekend, but that's okay. All is good overall, but that's not important. Let's hear about you because the listeners want to know. Kevin, you went to Fenway.
Yeah.
How was it?
Fenway was a good time. This is the third time I've been to Boston now, and this is probably my best overall experience there. We spent most of our time in the North End. Typically, we were in the Southie area, and you can tell just the maturity level between those two areas. The people in Boston this time around, way better than the previous two times. So had a great time, and then obviously we went to Fenway for Labor Day, September 1st. We went for Guardians Red Sox. So I'm now 0-2 in seeing Cleveland teams in the Boston, New England area, Foxborough area, as the Tribe fell 6-4. But was definitely a better outing than the Browns' 45-7 loss that you and I both experienced when we were in Boston a few years ago. But overall, a great experience. You know, we spent Saturday, and we'll get into more so the details with the games and stuff like that later on in the show. But spent some time right outside of Fenway on Saturday for the Ohio State-Texas game, which was a huge game. A bar called Game On, a Buckeyes backers bar. We went there for it. And the namesake of a bar that we frequent in Lakewood as well, Game On. So went there, had a great time there, watched some football, and it was a rowdy bunch there for the Ohio State game. And of course, you got a lot of people there that were, pre-gaming the Red Sox game happening that day as well because the Pirates were in town. So it was a good overall fun experience, and I hope to be going back there in the next year or so for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you got to see your team and, play at Fenway. And most folks are happy just to go to Fenway alone with how historic of a sports venue that is. And obviously, as big sports fans ourselves, it's like one of those bucket list venues. And I think it's even cooler when you get to see your own team in that stadium, as rough as they've been to watch lately. So
Yeah, and absolutely. And, obviously, we mentioned this last week, but we were visiting our good friend Phil Sprons, former guest of the show, friend of the show, and he had told me before, he goes, it's really like watching a baseball game in a museum, kind of. And I was like, okay, I was kind of feeling it out. And you get in there and you know exactly what he's talking about. You can just tell, the architecture type, they haven't changed too much really in that stadium at all from what he was telling me. And obviously with the way that the seats face as well, they just kind of face directly out. They don't necessarily face directly towards home plate. So you got a lot of people that are sitting sideways watching the game so that they have their head on view. But yeah, great overall experience there. Obviously, I wish the Tribe would have been able to pull it out. But they had a lot of mistakes of their own, as we can honestly transition right into the Guardians themselves.
Sure.
But they had a lot of mistakes on their own. Parker Messick took the mound, had a sub-2 ERA. Granted, it had only been like 2 outings going into the game. Had a balk that cost us a run, and then there was a balk later in the game that I believe cost us a run as well. We did have to dip out a little bit early just because our flight left at 8, and the first 2 innings took a total of an hour in and of itself. So we had to leave at the start of the 8th inning in order to catch our flight. But yeah, good overall experience in Fenway.
That's funny you mentioned that because my next question for you was, did you get to experience the famous Red Sox tradition of Sweet Caroline?
We did. I actually got that on camera as well.
So that was the last thing, And
yeah, we left basically right after because the song started to sing. We were actually getting ready to head out, and then the song started playing, and Phil was like, "You guys want to stay for this?" And we were like, "Yeah, we have to stay for Sweet Caroline. It's only like 2 to 3 minutes."
That is a staple there.
And it was great.
If we have some more time on the another podcast, I actually just watched Sports Center special on how that all started, and it's a pretty cool story. But we don't have that kind of time today, unfortunately, for me to dive into that. Talk about the Guardians. They did take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners, but they kind of sit almost identically as to where they did last week when we did our show, and that is 4 out of the wild card as of tonight. And remind you, housekeeping note, we are recording on Tuesday
night.
again.
Yep.
They're 68 and 68. They take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners, and at this point, I think they are what they are, and they're probably going to finish either 2 below 500, 2 above 500, or right at 500.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And that's something that we talked about a lot last week as well. You know, both of us proclaiming that the season is, in fact, over in the way that we look at it right now. So a lot of it right now, and you could tell because we were actually at George Valera's debut this year.
I have that, yeah.
Yeah, so so you can tell. I think they're kind of in the mindset as well of let's see the young guys finally. You know, it seems like they've almost, I don't want to say they've given up, but I think they've realized where they stand.
Sure.
So, you know, if the young guys can give themselves, I guess, a little bit of a jump and maybe they do make a push for that last seed in the wild card, then great. If not, you know, it couldn't have been too much worse than what the last 135 games have been. So
right, exactly. And, you know, I saw Valera went 0 for 1 with a walk, and he was pinch hit 4 in the 6th inning. I was unable to watch the game yesterday that you attended. A lot of Guardians fans out there now. Yeah,
the Guardians fans were well represented. I mean, about as well represented as they could be, I should say, for a Labor Day matinee in Fenway. I would say, I know it's not going to sound like a ton, but I would say maybe like 1 out of every 10 people you saw was probably a Guardians fan.
That's a lot.
So about like 10%. I mean, you looked around. You know, Kyle Manzaro hit a home run. I want to say it was in the 7th, could be the 6th. I want to say it was the 7th though. To bring it from 6-3 to 6-4, and you could tell like there were a good amount of Guardians fans that stood up and were clapping. So it was nice to see the representation of Cleveland and
absolutely,
Fenway.
Because that's not like it's a close venue here. I mean, you're talking, an 11-hour drive and a 2-hour flight or what have you. So
yeah, exactly. And you know what? You know, this is such a random comment, nothing to do about the game in and of itself. But when we went to Boston a few years back, was our flight not like 2 hours?
Yeah.
Right? Kyle and I hopped on, our good friend Kyle hop on the plane, and they say, you know, we'll be arriving in Boston in 1 hour and 3 minutes. And we both looked at each other like, that does not sound right. Sure enough, just over an hour. And then on the way back, I thought it was going to be a little bit longer just because you're, you know, fighting against the wind sometimes.
Sure.
And
going east to west.
It was like 1 hour 15. So we both they were very quick flights.
You know, do you remember the one time that I flew back from there? I had a flight to Detroit first, and you were with me, though. So maybe that's where your image of the 2 hours came from.
Maybe that's what it was, because we had a very, very short layover.
In Detroit,
sure.
Yeah. So I know you were worried about making it back to the airport in time. No issues with that on the trip either?
No issues with that. Actually, we probably walked into the airport in Boston, got into the airport, and probably were through TSA and everything within 15 minutes.
Nice.
I could not believe it. Now, getting there Friday was a different story. We were really pressed for time.
Well, I had to drop you guys off. What a disaster that was. Back to the Guardians, though. Big Christmas is back up, and George Valera is here. Listen, George Valera was someone who was a top prospect only a few years ago, Kevin, but so many injuries, and they've just derailed it, and he's lost his top prospect status, and he really has been in AAA, it feels like, for 3 years.
Yeah, it feels like it's been for a while. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerome. Was he a first-round pick? I know he was. I mean, he's been a higher prospect in our system, like you said, for the last 3 years. I know. I mean, this sounds almost like I'm a casual fan, but I know I've seen him with a potential in MLB The Show at least the last 3 years.
No, so he was an international free agent signing, I believe.
Okay.
And I also do know that, he's fallen off a lot of prospects. I don't think he's on any prospect ranks just because the age.
Well, now he's 24.
How long he's been in AAA, all of that contributes. Now, look, I don't mind them taking a look at Valera for the last month of the season. I don't think that he's ever going to be good in the major leagues at this point, but, you've had him here forever. You might as well give him a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree. I was surprised they didn't play him in the outfield, actually. I was surprised they went with Kafis and right, Manzardo at first, and Valera at DH. I would have assumed they would have done Kafis at first, Valera and right, and then have Manzardo DH, but they did not do that. So I'm interested to see if they're going to put Valera. I'd like to see him out in the field.
This is probably the proper move. Play the young guys, see what happens, right?
I agree.
Carlos Santana, unfortunately, is a Cub now.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so This is the move going forward. They know what they are. They're not a playoff team, and it sucks that this is where they are coming off a year of an ALCS, and we've rehashed that thousands of times over and over again. So I don't really want to go down that road either, but it does suck that we're sitting here. We'll play the young guys because we have nothing better to do in September. Sucks.
Yeah,
to be
no,
there.
it's annoying, and like you said, Jerome, coming off of obviously it was the ALCS, but it's basically a Final Four appearance. You were one of the 4 best teams in baseball. You put yourself up there with the 3 huge market teams, with the Mets, Dodgers, and Yankees. So
yeah,
it's frustrating that this is where we're at right now. And from what we've seen too, like our top prospect, not doing too great right now in AAA, Travis Bazzana.
No.
So it doesn't give you. I mean, it's a very small sample size, but it's tough to look at that and give you a ton of hope going into next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really where our eyes are set on right now.
Pony up some money and spend some money. It's the only way you're going to get better at this
100%.
point. And I mean, like I said, if I was to sit here and hoot and holler about George Valera and inspire all this false confidence I have in our audience, I'd be lying. I don't have much confidence, but I also don't blame them for taking a look because they are where they are.
Well, and, I mean, this is honestly probably the best time to get a look at him. Like, even if you weren't 100% confident in his abilities, hey, we're sitting 500 with 20, 25 games left. Let's put the kid out there and see if he can hang with the big boys. And if not, this might end up being like a Gabe Arias, Bo Naylor situation.
Yep, absolutely. And they already designated Valera for assignment once.
Right, yeah.
At the end of last year. And then, absolutely no other team in baseball had interest in him. And so from there, they re-signed him to a minor league deal, and this is where we are with him. So not much else want to get to in with the Guardians besides Big Christmas is back.
Yeah, did you see that, by the way, funky play from the Labor Day game? If you haven't,
yes.
I'll have to show the one where it was like off his glove.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, if you're listening and you haven't seen it, please look it up before you listen to this. But I have no idea how that was called a home run at all. Like I didn't see the ball itself hit the foul pole. And I will say I'll give kudos to the one Red Sox fan that was in the stands because you could tell he really wanted to go and catch it because it was right there, but he did ease off. So there was no question of fan interference or anything like that. I thought it was going to end up being either a catch or like a ground rule double because it hit off of Noel's glove and then went out of play. So I didn't know if that would just be a ground rule or automatic double, I believe it's called now.
I did see this one. Yes.
But I did not see the ball itself. I saw maybe his glove hit the pole, but I didn't see the ball hit the pole. So I was very confused as to how that was called that way. I thought it was going to be from where we were sitting. We were in right field, so it looked like he had caught it.
So this would have been off to your left, right?
Yes. So it looked like his
Pesky's pole.
Yes, it was. His back was towards us, so we didn't see the ball actually hit the netting and hit the wall, and then him pick it up. So we thought he caught the ball. But yeah, it ended up being. I thought it was going to be either an automatic double or a foul ball, but no, they ruled it a home run. I'm not sure how that would have played out if that happened in Progressive Field. I'm not sure how that would have played out. But again, like we don't have any of those gimmicky.
No, because Progressive Field, that wall's 9 feet high. There's no.
Well, exactly. I'm just if the tables were turned, same
Sure.
field but different homes. So
well, obviously Pesky's pole, we know how short it is down that right field line, and basically we're, for most average sized right fielders, the wall is a little bit higher than their waist level.
Yeah. So they actually said in all 30 MLB parks, including Fenway, that ball would never be a home run. It's literally just because Noel got his big mitten there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't want to discredit him from going after the ball or whatever. It's a weird, funky play.
Yeah, it's like a freak accident.
It totally is.
So I did see that yesterday. I was out of town, but someone had showed me it on their phone who I was sitting next to, and I was like, wow. I didn't really know. I didn't really have a conclusion, and I couldn't get mad at what their conclusion was because it was bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird.
So,
but
all right, where do you want to go next, Kevin, on our map here? Would you like to?
You want to dive into some college football?
Take the trail to the college football.
Yeah,
I'm in for that.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about it. Ohio. All right, they get it done. Beat the number one team in the country. They are now the number one team in the country.
Yeah, as they should be.
And I got to watch majority of this game, and I got a couple thoughts. I give Matt Patricia and his defense a lot of credit. They played really good. I hated the hiring of Matt Patricia. I mean, obviously it's a super microscopic sample size. Can't criticize so far because great, only giving up 7 points. The offense I thought was a little bit conservative, and I think that was because it was Julian Sain's first game, and they didn't want to get aggressive, and they never really had to because of the way the game went. And we did talk about it on last week's show. Listen, man, a lot of folks thought that this was going to be this big, high-scoring, rah-rah, hoot and hollering type of offensive game. And I had said last week, I think it's going to be low-scoring because there was too much hype around it being the first game of the year. And so...
Well, and offenses are typically trying to get into their rhythm. It takes them a couple games.
Absolutely. And, excuse me, and, you know, the other thing is that, to your point, Kevin, we see it in the NFL. These guys just, it takes like 3 or 4 weeks now. And so, like, I like what college football has done because they've created this environment where you don't play the Little Sisters of the Poor week 1, but it also sucks because you're playing these huge rivalry, or not even rivalry, but big name, big school games squaring off against each other when neither team's at their best. But I don't see, you know, that's when you play your non-conference games. So I don't know how they can fix that issue. And I'm still would much rather watch crappy Ohio State offense versus crappy Texas offense than watch crappy Ohio State offense just roll Bowling Green or Akron or Kent State or something.
And I think that can be a double-edged sword sometimes too, because you know you're going in, you have that huge game. I mean, it's 1 versus 3 right out of the gate. You have that huge game, and that's when, if you're going to lose, that's when you would want that loss, is early on in the season into a big team, a top 3 opponent. But then, does the win count as much either? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that win gets discredited the longer the season goes because of the recency bias that goes into those rankings towards the end of the year, that we're not going to really look back. I mean, depending on how Texas does, let's assume they finish as a top 10, top 15 team. And that's, I think, being on the safe side, I think they'll probably be a top 10 team almost. You would think they'd be almost like solidified as a top 10 team going into the year. But yeah, that can be a double-edged sword with teams like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's...
Or with games like that, I should say.
Absolutely. And I know it's a microscopic sample size. I, however, was not impressed at all with Arch Manning.
Yeah, neither was I. And I did want to touch on your point about Julian Sain. I was very impressed with him, to be honest with you. There were a couple, and I know we had texted throughout the game. I know you were in Pennsylvania this weekend. Obviously, I was in Boston, so we were texting. And he was hitting his receivers. There was a big third down drop right on the edge from one of the, from right on the sideline from one of the tight ends, and then Jeremiah Smith had 2 very uncharacteristic drops out of him.
Jeremiah Smith had a rough outing.
Yeah, I mean, Julian Sain should have probably started that game 6 for 6, 60 to 70 yards if we're anticipating the run after the catch of some of those plays that Jeremiah Smith is so good at. So I was very impressed with the game plan that Ohio State went in. I thought they had a very balanced attack of pass and run. And then touching on your point about Arch Manning, I mean, that first drive, it was the first, I believe it was the second play from scrimmage, he missed a dude wide open.
Yeah.
That would have been a gain of 20 plus probably. And then he kept missing. He missed that dude at the very end, too, on that 4th down.
I thought Arch was inaccurate all day. I mean,
I did too.
There were multiple times that I'm like, wow. I mean, there were guys open, and it's like, wow, thank God he sucks today because – like, this is a 30-yard play the Buckeyes are giving up. And credit to the Buckeyes defense because they did have pressure in his face a lot, too. I don't want to completely, like, say, you know, man, Ohio State didn't do anything to win the game. They still beat the number 1 preseason team in the country. Like, got to give them their credit, got to give them their flowers, and I will.
Well, and it's the first game of the year. It's the first game of the year. You're going up. It's basically it's his first season as the starting quarterback at Texas. First game of the year, you're going into the now number 1 team ranked in the country. You're going into their place in Columbus. And we all know the fans in Columbus are rowdy as hell in that stadium. So it was definitely not an easy environment for Arch. Not that I'm giving him any excuses at all, but I don't want to overreact to this at all either because there were games that he played last year. Granted, they were pretty much mostly garbage time. That he looked very well. I thought he had a few good plays against Ohio State, being able to scramble out of some pressure, run for the first down, or get close to the first down. And he made a few good throws as well. So I don't want to overreact to it. I still think Arch is a hell of a football player. And I do hope, just for college football's sake, that he does get his act together and has a really good year.
Yeah, I agree with that. In the same way that we do it in the NFL. Week 1 overreactions. We do it in baseball. We do opening series overreactions. Basketball. We do it in every sport, but I think it gets hyper-focused in football because you only play once a week. And so
absolutely.
It is just crazy how much we overreact. So
yeah, I mean, when Donovan Mitchell goes out and maybe shoots like 4 or 15, we're not the next day calling for his head and saying he's a horrible basketball player.
Right.
You know?
No, and to your point, I don't want to say Arch sucks as a whole, but I think it is fair to say that if I was a Texas fan, which as a Buckeyes fan, yeah, please continue sucking.
Right.
Great, whatever. It'd be great for us. But like, I don't think it's not fair. It's not fair to say Arch sucks in general, but to say Arch sucked in that game is a completely fair statement.
Oh, it's absolutely completely fair. I mean, I think you could look at that game alone, and I never ever want to pin a game like a loss on one player in particular, but you can look at that game and say that Arch probably cost them the game. There were so many missed opportunities, so many missed first downs. And it does suck for Texas, but at the same time, I think they only dropped to 7 or 8 from what I saw. 6 maybe? 7.
Yes.
So yeah, not too crazy of a drop for them. It's not like they dropped out of the top 10 or dropped, so they're obviously still in the playoff mix. They're going to be in the playoff mix the entire year unless they get to that 3-loss mark. So they still have, I guess, a little bit of room to slip up, but I expect them to get their act together.
And I think for Ohio State, fans can feel good in the fact that, like you said, Julian Sayin looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he looked very good.
And Ryan Day had said it in the post game with Fox right after that watch. He had said, we got to a point where we could have opened it up, and we felt confident in doing that for Julian. But at the same time, the game didn't dictate that. The game dictates how you call sometimes, and the best coaches have feel for that. And I give Ryan Day and Brian Hartline his first game as OC credit too, because he didn't open it up because it was unnecessary because Texas couldn't move the ball more than 5 yards.
And I was impressed. I was impressed with both defenses, truthfully. And I was honestly even more so. I was more so impressed with Texas's defense. Not Ohio State's defense played better, but I was more impressed with Texas's defense in the sense of we have never expected that out of Texas. It's always been the 52-45 wins.
Right. Well, I think when they moved the SEC.
Yeah, they had
to put a serious.
Yeah, they had to put an emphasis on it for sure.
On getting better defensive players, recruiting better, signing better in college football free agency, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had to be more involved, especially in the transfer portal now. It's like we've talked about before. It's an off season, so hey, we've got players leaving at linebacker that we need to shore up, and we need a veteran in there. Let's go grab this junior coming out of West Virginia. Whatever it is.
Right.
So.
Well, that's exactly what Ohio State did when they got C.J. Donaldson, who's their running back now. So, yeah, it's a good day to be a Buckeye fan, a good weekend to be a Buckeye fan. You are now number 1, and I'm happy, and I want your take on this. I thought that they deserved to jump to 1, beating Texas at 1. Penn State, they beat the crap out of Nevada, but come on.
It's Nevada.
Right.
No, I 100% agree with you. I thought as soon as that game ended, I looked at Kylan Phil and I said, Ohio State's going to be 1 and deservedly so. I know they won. I know there's some people that take the home field like way too much into account. Well, they won at home. So what? You beat the number 1 pre-ranked team in the nation going into it. A team that was great last year, and last year they were even arguing, should it be Quinn Ewers, should it be Arch Manning? So Ohio State very much well-deserved of the 1 seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like we said, Penn State, okay, you did what you were supposed to. You played Nevada. Like I saw Penn State fans, this and that and blah, 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 and Ohio State won it all, like you were saying. And I'm not.
And when was the last time Penn State even beat Ohio State? Why do they think that they should be ranked? And I know it's from season to season. We don't want to look at last season and say, even if we did, it'd be Ohio State over Penn State, but you get the idea here.
Absolutely.
Like, it's based off of what's going on this year, not what's going on in years past. And this year, Ohio State beat the number 1 team in the nation, pre-ranked number 1 team in the nation, and Penn State beat the Nevada Wolfpack.
Yeah, thank you. Enough said. Okay, let's move on to your team, Kevin. They lose a heartbreaker in the Catholics versus Convicts rivalry. And, when I first saw this game and I watched a little bit, I was able to catch the second half of it, so I'm going to have you, explain and basically to me and our audience of what happened in this game, because when I started watching it, Notre Dame was down by 2 scores. They were down 21-7, and obviously they lose 27-24. So this is a big matchup for both these teams. We talked about it before, on last week's episode. So what happened in the Notre Dame game? I mean, I see they obviously make a big comeback, and then it wasn't enough at the end. Is that essentially the...
Realistically, what it came down to is that they lost the turnover battle. There were a couple huge turnovers in that game for Notre Dame. And then, honestly, Miami just made, I shouldn't say big play after big play, but they made the big plays. I'm sure you saw the one-handed catch that was at the very end of the first
Absolutely.
half. And then even before in that first quarter, when Miami scored, Carson Beck rolled out, heaved it, and it was a decent throw. It wasn't the best throw, but the receiver made a heck of a play coming back to get it, beat our safety or corner. I forget who was in coverage there. Got in front of him, made the catch, and ran into the end zone. So there were a couple big plays that the defense just wasn't really in. Even if they were in good position, they just weren't in the best position to make a play on the ball, and that's 14 points right there just off of 2 huge plays for the Hurricanes. And then, like I said, the turnovers. I was also very confused with Notre Dame's game plan going into this game. I thought CJ Carr honestly played pretty well. There was an interception that I'm sure he'd love to have back. But I thought he played pretty well. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price only got a combined 15 carries between the two of them. And we talked about it last week. I feel like they're probably the best running back tandem in the country. That might be a little bit biased from me, just being a Notre Dame fan. But I know you said they were at least top 3 or top 4 last year with Penn State and Ohio State with those running back tandems. So was very confused with that. It's just one of those things where, I know Jeremiah Love got stuffed a couple times, but it doesn't mean that the run's not going to work at some point. You still have to keep Miami honest. And I think Miami just realized, hey, they're not running the ball anymore. We're going to play coverage and put their true sophomore quarterback. We're going to put the ball in his hands. And, good game plan out of Miami at that point. I think just bad game planning from Notre Dame's part offensively.
You also know that coaches tend to do this. When you go down, like they did, 2 scores like that, and you're down, I think people and coaches tend to press the panic button and go to an all-pass game. And you can't do that.
No, they were down 20.
You got to keep, you got to keep running the ball and keep the defense honest. And that's not what took place.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And we actually Notre Dame made it a 21-14 game, had a stop, got the ball back, and then Carr threw that pick that I was mentioning earlier.
So that was a killer.
That's the one. Yeah, but then we stopped, or I believe we held them to a field goal that possession, and then, we go down to 24-21, we make a field goal, it's a tie game, and the defense broke. So it was a frustrating one, but again, it's one of those losses that if this is going to be the loss, you want it in the away stadium. You want it against a top 10 opponent, which it was, which Miami's now a top 5 opponent. I believe they're ranked 5th now from what I saw this morning.
They are 5th in the AP
and then Notre Dame only dropped to 9. So, you still control your own destiny at this point. So you cannot get too down on this loss. If we rewind the clocks back 10 to 15 years, this is a loss that your season's over.
Yeah.
So luckily it's not. Luckily it's the expanded playoffs, and the Irish are still sitting at 9. And they control their own destiny still. So
yeah, the tough thing for them is Ohio State gets to go now play Grambling State.
Right, and the Notre Dame actually has the week off this week, and then we'll be going into Texas A&M.
I was going to say for them, they have to go play the Aggies now, and that's
A&M will actually be coming to South Bend because we went to A&M last year. So
either way,
another huge game for the Irish.
Whichever way you shake it, you're playing a very formidable opponent in the Texas A&M.
Yeah, top
Aggies.
20 team.
Right, absolutely. So a couple other big ones that we mentioned on last week's program. Number 9 LSU does beat number 4 Clemson. So
and unfortunately wasn't able to see that game, but that is one that you and I both predicted incorrectly.
Yeah.
Because we had Brian Kelly. He never wins the big game, and he finally did.
He did. He won a big game against the number 4 team in the country.
Did you watch that game, by the way?
I did not see that game.
I watched the highlights, and I got to be honest, Cade Klubnik, I was not too impressed with. It seemed like after a second and a half, he was running out of the pocket. And there were obviously plays where the defense had a good blitz where he had to move, but it seemed like there were plenty of plays where he was moving out of the pocket unnecessarily and almost running himself into sacks. So
Not good.
And that's, like I said, I just kind of watched the condensed version of the game to just get an idea of how that game went, and that's what I ended up noticing out of that one. So kudos to Brian Kelly, kudos to LSU. Big time win for them, and and they jumped up in the rankings as well. I believe they're top 3 now, right? 3 or 4?
I believe they are 3.
Okay.
I believe. Let me pull that up. As speaking of rankings, Kevin, how about unranked Florida State, who has a terrible year last year?
Yeah, horrible.
Beats the crap out of Alabama.
Yeah. The post-Nick Saban era is not going smoothly for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
No.
Last year they went 9-3 and missed the playoffs.
Things are absolutely, I bet, in an uproar in Tuscaloosa. That is 100% what I would believe.
Well, this is completely unacceptable if you're an Alabama fan. And what you've come to expect and what you've come to know out of this university, really what feels like, Jerome, ever since you and I have started watching college football.
I would say since
maybe mid-2000s, like 2005.
Nick got there in 2007. They've been dominating for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah.
And just to make sure we're keeping our viewers up to date and listeners, obviously our audience, I should just encapsulate it all into one. Ohio State is number 1. Penn State's number 2. LSU is number 3. We said
Okay.
that where we just want to double check that.
That seemed right.
Georgia's 4. Miami 5. Oregon 6. Texas 7. Clemson drops to 8. Notre Dame drops to 9. And South Carolina is at 10. So there's your top 10 going into this week's slate. Obviously, which we're not going to really preview because I don't know. I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. Kevin, I don't know how much time I could honestly dedicate to Ohio State and Grambling State.
Yeah, I don't know how much you could either, really, to be honest with you.
If things go right, Julian Sane probably will not start the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping to beat this team by 5 touchdowns minimum, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
which that's sometimes, I mean, not to go on a whole tangent, but that is sometimes what makes college football occasionally unwatchable for me, is that when it comes to the NFL, it's any given Sunday. We've got, you'll see the Carolina Panthers took the Chiefs down to the wire last year.
Right.
They were one of the worst teams in football. So it's any given Sunday in the NFL. In college football, you do have your upsets, don't get me wrong, but they're few and far between when it comes to Ohio State, Grambling State.
Right, absolutely. So I think, like, if you're a formidable enough program like Florida State, you beat the crap out of them, you're going to raise some eyebrows.
Right.
And right now the question is going to be more so, is Florida State good? No, that question's not going to come into play yet. It's going to be what's wrong with Alabama,
and
how can they fix the Crimson Tide? And that's what you're hearing on the shows and the talking heads and all of that, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw that Ryan Williams, he was obviously that freshman receiver last year that was a lot of people battled Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Who you taking? Until probably the second half of the year where Jeremiah Smith really took over. Whereas, okay, this is the guy in college football. I saw he got a little tweaked up this past week too.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. Not good for the Tide.
The transition from Washington to the Crimson Tide has not gone well for Kalen DeBoer. So
no, it hasn't.
Not even in the slightest.
No, it hasn't.
One last college football note before we move on to pro football here. Bill Belichick's debut did not go as planned on Labor Day last night.
Yeah, I saw that.
48-14 loss to TCU. Here's the deal with that. I had a conversation with my dad about this morning. I said, Bill's not cut out for college, blah, blah, blah. My dad goes, just like we said with Arch, though, it's microscopic sample size. We'll see how Bill does. I can't say that I was totally shocked that they got dominated by that. I thought maybe
I was.
You were?
I was surprised that they got dominated. I just thought his presence and the way that he coaches, that even if they lost, it would be like 7 to 10 points at max. I didn't think it would be a 2+ touchdown deficit, let alone 5 touchdowns, basically, they lost by.
So my question, or my thing on that, too, is North Carolina was a crappy team last year. When was the last time the Tar Heels put together a really good football team? Probably when like Mitch Trubisky was quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've definitely seen some years where they finish like in the 20s ranked, but we never see them top 10, top 15. But there are we'll see them like 23. Oh, the Tar Heels had a pretty good year,
Right, absolutely. So obviously the expectations are just going to be off the charts anywhere Bill Belichick signs the dotted line.
Yeah,
that goes without
clearly
saying.
Yeah.
But I wonder, that team really stunk, and I mean, I'm not a huge Tar Heel fan, but I hate them, in fact. But I wonder, did Bill hit the recruiting trail hard enough? Did he flip over this roster enough? It is free agency in college football.
Yeah,
and if you're not up there getting the best quote-unquote free agents, you're failing as a coach, and you're failing your school, university, and everything in between.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's going to take him a while to, because if my understanding's correct, this is the first time he's coached college ball, right?
Never,
actually been on the
never,
recruiting trail. So obviously a huge learning experience for Bill Belichick, which when you're at his age, you can't really teach an old dog new tricks. So I really don't know
how this is going to work. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a good first impression for him or Arch Manning.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, obviously, and we'll continue talking college football. It was overall, I'd say, very fun, very invigorating, very exciting opening weekend of college football.
Absolutely. And we had a few great games on the slate too. So it was nice to kick off the college football season with just 3 huge top 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this too, and
all 6 of those teams are still ranked in the top 10.
Absolutely. And not to rehash and go over again, but it's weird, like we said, because you love to see the top programs play each other, but it's also like we all know that all 6 of those teams are nowhere close to the peak of their powers at this point in the year, Kevin.
No, we'll start to really see them come into their own week 3, week 4. I almost think, there was a good friend of ours in college that had told us the first couple weeks he feels like are the preseason, and they shouldn't really be taken into account with the rankings, which I disagree with that portion of it, but I do agree that it is almost like a preseason feel. You're still feeling out the offense, feeling out the defense, feeling out the personnel switches, personnel changes, what you like to run in certain situations, certain scenarios. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, folks, it's been a long off season, and from this recording in 5 short days, they will begin.
That's
Cleveland
right.
Browns are about to kick off the 2025 season.
3 days from when this releases.
Yes. So let's talk about it. We have a legit, real, not fake, not boring, not a bunch of guys who aren't on the roster anymore playing football game for the Browns to talk about. So let's get to it. They play the Bengals, at home week 1. And I am going to go ahead and say I think the Browns are going to win. And I know a lot of people have been saying that this week. There's a lot of confidence building in this city. I think part of that is at this time of the year that naturally happens every year with it being the opener and at home and all of that, of course. So I hear a lot of people saying the Browns are going to win. I want to let it be known. I think the Browns are going to win too. But Kevin, it had to be 4 or 5 weeks ago I told you I thought the Browns were going to win this game.
You've been on this you've been on this
since training camp opened, I think. I don't know if I said it ever publicly on the podcast though. So I'm going to put it out there, and I know when you guys listen to this on Thursday morning, you're going to say, "Oh, you're joining the masses." No. I've had this one sealed in a Ziploc bag for a while, and I'm letting it out to the world today. The Browns will beat the Bengals. So
this is tough for me because the Browns typically split with the Bengals. So they typically but I just don't think I see them winning week 1 against the Bengals. I don't think I do. I think the Bengals offensive star power is going to be too much. The Browns defense is deflated. Obviously no JOK for basically the entire season, and then no Emerson on the outside. So we really only have one true corner that we're trusting. We've got one true safety that we're trusting. And the linebacker we're putting our most trust in was the 33rd overall pick in this past draft. So we're really putting all of our eggs in the defensive line's basket, in my opinion, looking at the defense right now. And the Bengals, who are a team that really pride themselves on their air attack, I don't know if we can keep up with them this time around. Now, on the flip side, offensively, I am looking forward to seeing Flacco back in action. I just think there's going to be a couple mistakes, maybe a fumble and an interception that we're not going to be able to overcome, and it's going to be too little, too late when it comes to the very end. And I could see it being a heartbreaking loss. But I'm going to go and say that the Browns lose 27-17.
I'm going to go ahead and say the Browns win, and I think the Browns win 24-16.
Okay, I thought you were going to go with the game from 2023. Wasn't it 20 or didn't we win 24-3 or was it 27-3?
Yeah, we won 24-3, and that's another reason. Now remember that year Burrow came in with a pretty bad calf injury, and he could hardly move, and the Browns sacked him an abundance of times.
Oh, it was amazing.
I'm going to say 7 to 8 times that day. I think Miles had 2 or 3 himself. And, I know that D-line's going to get after Burrow. The offensive line for the Bengals is better. It's still not very talented. Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
The Bengals' defense is an abomination. They're lucky that they still have Trey Hendrickson, those cheap guys, because boy, oh boy, you take him off that defense. Kevin, I pride myself on knowing most of the rosters. I don't know some of their starters on defense.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that you bring up, Jerome, because we talk a lot about, AFC North football and you got to win in the trenches. And I think you look at offensive line versus defensive line on both sides, and I think the Browns might have the advantage on both ends.
Absolutely. They have the line of scrimmage advantage on their offense and on their defense, Kevin. I completely agree with that. And not to boot, the last time they played the Bengals in an opener at home, I know Burrow was hurt. We talked about that.
Right.
Deshaun Watson played pretty poorly. It wasn't great.
I thought he played fine that day, honestly.
It wasn't great, okay?
It wasn't amazing, but I think he played fine. He didn't play $230 million guaranteed well. Like, he wasn't a superstar, but he played like an average quarterback, I felt, that day.
And the Browns were able to still put up 24 points. I think you have a better quarterback this time on the home opener.
I trust Flacco more than I trust the Albatross.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Anybody would tell you they trust
We can look at that 2023 season alone. They both played for us.
Anybody who tells you they trust Deshaun Watson more than Joe Flacco at this point in the game, where they both are in their careers, is receiving personal checks from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's probably Quincy Avery.
In a couple of these other Deshaun burner accounts.
You think he has his own burner account?
Oh, there's no way that.
Wait, what was the one? Wasn't it last year or was it 2 years ago? Who was it? Leroy Bickerstaff.
Leroy Bickerstaff, and then there was another one too. Either way, point being,
Leroy Bickerstaff. That one was weird though, because if you remember, he only tweeted like before and after Browns game. It was never during.
Yeah,
so like a lot of people thought that it genuinely was Deshaun.
It was Deshaun, his wife, or someone in between.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe his mom. Regardless, I'm not going to spend the day talking about him much. I think the Browns are going to win. One thing that's interesting to me is the running the ball for the Browns. How much are they going to trust their running backs, being it's Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson?
And I saw Jerome Ford got the RB1 role officially on the depth chart.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Which I think we even said a few weeks back that's probably what it was going to be, because you're going to trust your 3 to 4 year veteran over a guy you just took in the 4th round. So Sampson might like out carry him or out snap him, but RB1 goes to Ford.
I think Sampson probably where he fits in this game plan. If I was the Browns, he's probably my third down back for sure. He was pretty good at pass pro at Tennessee too, and you hope that the Browns are able to move the ball enough. Now, I think Jerry Jeudy should have a real nice day, as long as Joe can get it to him, because the Bengals secondary is a joke.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Flacco and Jeudy do have pretty decent chemistry, because you saw what Flacco could do with the receiver that he did have great chemistry with, and that was Amari Cooper. And that's kind of a reason I was a little bit disappointed for what I saw him sign with the Raiders. Him obviously going back to Vegas. He was never with Vegas. He was in Oakland, but you get the idea.
Back to the Raider organization.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the Raiders organization is because at least that would give somebody, he's got great chemistry with David Njoku as well, obviously, but I just feel like adding Amari Cooper in there, you're starting to get a little bit of the band back together. He played with Jerome Ford. He had great chemistry with Ford, too. Ford, Njoku, Cooper, the 3 guys he really targeted the most and had the most chemistry with. It would have been nice to have all 3 of them back, but 2 out of 3 is not bad, and add Jeudy to the mix. We'll see how that chemistry works. I'm looking forward. I shouldn't say I'm looking forward to, but I am anxious to see how that works.
And I like Jerry Jeudy too, and I loved Amari Cooper here. Trust me.
Oh my God!
Do not get me wrong. I think he was awesome, and they gave up basically a bag of deflated footballs to get the guy. Okay, but I do like that Judy's younger, more athletic, and quite frankly, probably if you look at it bluntly, he's just a much better
he's better
player,
than he is now. Yeah.
Much better player than Cooper is at this. Cooper went to the Bills last year, and there was like a AWOL. Nobody could find the guy. He was irrelevant.
Which a rare deal that Andrew Berry got the better end of.
Andrew Berry, whenever he is dealing away or receiving compensation in this form, he is excellent dealing with wide receivers.
I should say if he's involved in a trade and it's involving like mid-round picks, and by that I mean like rounds 3 to 6, he typically wins those deals.
Sure.
With Zadarius Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper.
To your point, and you just made it kind of for me, so that's good. He dealt nothing to get Amari Cooper. He dealt nothing to get Jerry Jeudy. Both of them have had phenomenal years here in back-to-back years. Cooper in 23, Jeudy in 24, and you hope Jeudy does it again in 25. And Kevin, I got to tell you, I have no reason to believe he won't.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback play is going to be more consistent this year for him and better as we are predicting that. So, yeah, I would imagine that Jeudy should have a better year as long as he stays healthy. And the thing is, though, I know they were actually, I believe it was Nick Padone that was interviewing Joel Bitonio, I want to say. And Bitonio said a huge reason why he came back was because he was told explicitly that they're going to go back to the Kevin Stefanski scheme, which is the ground and pound game, and that Joe Flacco was kind of like the cherry on top for him to come back as well.
Yeah, which is awesome. Bitonio's coming back. That's going to be a good offensive line. Should be a strength of the team. And look, the Browns may not have what people want at the skill positions or what people want at quarterback. Obviously, they've been searching for one of those for a quarter century, if not longer. Shoot, probably the last 30-some years. But where the Browns are built strongly is where people say you win the games, as you pointed out earlier in this episode. Okay, and that's the offensive and defensive line.
Yep.
And if those guys, we talked about it over the summertime, so we'll rehash it again. We have a game this week. Their whole plan has been to build strong in those trenches for this year. So hopefully that comes to fruition, and we'll have the first time to see that on Sunday if it proves to be true.
Yeah, and the thing that's given me hope this year for the Browns is, and I know I made this comparison probably like 5-6 weeks ago if I were to guess, but is that 2017 Jaguars team that basically just they grounded, pounded, and won in the trenches and played great defense, and Bortles just didn't turn the ball over, and they went to the AFC Championship game just off of that alone. So not that I have those expectations for this team. I don't have those expectations in the slightest, but that is the internal optimist in me going into the season, wanting to see what's best for this team. That's what's giving me hope.
Okay, well, let's see if you want to put your money where your mouth is, sir. I would love to hear a Browns record prediction on the record from you.
5-12.
I'm going to go 7-10.
Okay.
Yep.
I do think they're going to be improved. I just don't think it's going to be a drastic improvement.
Like that, if they went 7-10, that'd be a 4-game improvement.
Yeah, they would over double.
I think, and I hate to keep talking, I think Deshaun Watson was that bad last year that he single-handedly lost them multiple football games. I think if you just get below average quarterback play, which they didn't sniff when Four was on the field last year.
Or when he was off the field, let's be honest about that. They didn't get great quarterback play at all last season. I know we had fun with Jameis, but he never gave us like great quarterback play.
Yeah, regardless, anybody who's in there is going to be better than Four. It doesn't take anything to be better than he was. He was that awful. So that's where I see the improvements happening. I think the defense will be very, very good. I really, really do like Carson Schwarzenegger. I'm
excited for him.
He proved to be a second-round steal at the top of that second round. And, yeah, I am fully believing the Browns will win 7 games. Maybe I'm looking at it through maybe my glasses here turned orange and brown colored, and I'm looking through them.
You think Flacco starts the whole year? I know we've talked about this before. Okay,
No.
Where do you think he gets? If it's not due to injury, what game range are you looking at for him to get pulled for Gabriel? Because it's going to be Gabriel before Shador.
I'm thinking probably somewhere between Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Okay, so we're talking between weeks like 6 to 10, 6 to 11. Does that sound right? 6-12?
Well, you figure Halloween.
So you're saying roughly about halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll say
Yeah.
game 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I think that's safe.
But like I said, I think the Browns do win on Sunday, and I am very excited because it'll be my first game going as a fan and not an employee in many years, so that should be cool.
Yeah. I'm going down to the game as well. We're sitting in the same section, but different rows, you and I.
Yeah.
You're going down with your brother, another great friend of the show.
Actually, my dad.
Oh, you're going down with your dad.
Yeah, my brother's going to be coming in off a red eye from Las Vegas that morning. He'll be unable to go.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. I forgot what day he was coming back.
So I'm going with my dad and looking forward to that. We haven't been to a game together as fans since 2017.
Okay, yeah, so it's been a while.
So that's pretty cool.
Since the 0-16 season, huh?
Yep, it's the last time we won as a fan.
Wow.
So that'll be fun. We always have a good time. I mean, I give my dad credit for why I am such a big Browns fan, so looking forward to spending some time with him. And, yeah, it should be a fun. And I think if my firm belief is we will be walking out of there celebrating a victory, and I guarantee you it won't be me, but I guarantee you on the way down the escalators and out of the concourses, we will be hearing Super Bowl, Super Browns, and people will be pumped because we are going to beat the Bengals.
Hey, listen, I hope you're right, buddy. I really do. I've still got that 27-17 loss is what I'm predicting. Obviously hoping for a different outcome than that. But
absolutely. So looking forward to it. And here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Here we go again.
It's time. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
We have no idea. This is always a roller coaster of emotions. Yep. Mainly bad.
Yeah. Shout out to Michael Stanley, by the way. Here we go again.
Absolutely. So it's time. Here we go again. And like I said, we'll be with you all season long on the podcast. We got some good guests coming up.
Yeah.
So, and they'll be with us to give us their insights on the Browns. And I'm not saying we're turning it into an entirely Browns podcast, but during football season, we know how it goes around here. They do monopolize most of the airtime, and they probably will a lot for us too.
Yeah, from here on out up until probably late December, early to mid-January, it's probably going to be 2/3 Browns, I would guess, like almost each episode.
Well, and the thing is, the Guardians are really not giving us anything to talk about right now.
Right.
I mean, granted,
obviously, we'll have some Cavs talk once they kick back up in late October, obviously.
Sure. And, like I said, the Guardians, we'll give them their credit. They took 2 out of 3 from the Mariners, but they're in a position now where if they want a chance, they need to go on unbelievably. Like, they need to rip off like 12 in a row. That ain't going to happen.
Right.
So, all right. That'll do it for our regular segments and, our 3 big talking points. And now we finish up with
odds and ends.
That's right. So right after our episode got released last week, I believe the day it got released,
I think it was the day that it was released.
Micah Parsons. You're right. It was Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon, Micah Parsons traded to the Green Bay Packers. Now his agent's saying he wanted to stay a Cowboy. Jerry made it pretty clear he wanted to move on. I think this was a point where Jerry Jones is a stubborn old dude who's not going to back off what he thinks and believes, and he was never going to pay an edge rusher that much money. And so I think that's where you ended up. I think, I don't think there was ever an outcome once Jerry said what he said and then said even more after. And I don't know if you caught this, but in the press conference, Jerry, come on, man. You can't call him Michael Parsons when he's one of your best pass rushers in franchise history. Ooh, that was a bad look.
It was an absolute disaster class that Jerry Jones put on with this entire charade that he was pulling. Now, I did see a huge sticking point as to why he didn't really want the agent present was because he was trying to give. Now, Micah got a 4-year deal with Green Bay, which is what he wanted. Jerry wanted to do a 5-year deal, and it would be like $200 million over 5 years as opposed to $180 over 4. And the reason for that, obviously, it's less money annually.
The AAV's lower.
The AAV's lower, but also that would put him obviously a year older. He'll probably be a little bit over that hill, and that puts his leverage is like almost completely compromised when it comes to his next contract. So him and his agent were like dead focused on a 4-year deal, and Jerry was like, it's 5. Like, I'm not doing anything under 5. And they're like, well, then we want to trade, basically. And the Cowboys got like a pretty good return from Micah Parsons. I don't want to say that the Cowboys gave him away or anything. I mean, 2 first-round picks. Now, we are thinking that the Packers are probably going to be in the mid-20s at the earliest, because this is a move you make if you feel like you are going to try to win a Super Bowl in these next 4 to 5 years. This is the move you make. So we're thinking that the Packers are going to be mid to late 20s, potentially in the 30s, depending on how their seasons goes. Worst case scenario, early 20s probably. So it's going to be 2 late first-round picks, you're thinking, and then obviously Kenny Clark's a great great defensive tackle. He's been a Pro Bowler a few times, great at stuffing the run.
Yeah, Jerry Jones seemed to be a huge fan of him the way he talked.
Right, but that's not like the edge. Like you get a top 3 pass rusher in football, and you have a team that's ready to compete now, which the Cowboys are. The Cowboys have the offense to do it, and they've got the defensive pieces to do it as well, or they did. You don't let that guy walk. I think this is a completely different scenario than Myles Garrett with the Browns when he requested his trade. I actually look at the return that the Cowboys got, and I'm almost jealous that that's the return they got. If we could have gotten a Pro Bowl defensive tackle to pair with Mason Graham and add 2 first-round picks for our future, I mean, sign me up. I mean, we're not doing anything right now in Myles Garrett's prime. We're not. I mean, you're even talking, you're the optimist right now saying that we're going to have 7 wins. That's your prediction. That's the optimist in you.
Sure.
What is that $160-something million contract we gave Myles and no first-round picks in that deal do for us right now? It does nothing.
I disagree with you. To me, when you have great players, and Micah Parsons is a great player,
elite.
At all costs, you don't let them walk out the door.
I think it depends. It depends on where your team's at.
See, I disagree.
See, if I'm the Cowboys, I give him that contract. Like I give him the contract. I have him stay because you have, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback in football, top 3 receiver, and you've got, like I said, defensive and offensive pieces along with that. You can go and try to push yourself to compete for a Super Bowl. You make the playoffs, like we've said before, it's more so in baseball than any sport, but I think the same goes for football as well. You make the playoffs and anything can happen, and I think the Cowboys are absolutely a playoff team. So why would you let him walk for that? Now, the Browns, we're talking about, in our opinion, the best edge rusher in football, and we're talking like 7 wins. And you're the optimist here. Like, I don't see what that contract and not getting those 2 future first-round picks do for us. I don't see, outside of just pride getting in the way, which is what seems to be the case with Andrew Berry every time.
See, I just think no matter what, like, look, even if Myles is the best pass rusher in football, I believe that too. So let's say that let's say the Browns shock us all, and they end up making a shocking run to the wild card this year, whatever. Your team is so much better with Myles Garrett on it than without him. Kevin, it doesn't matter. When you have greatness, you don't let it walk to the door. I'm a firm believer in that.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. I wholeheartedly disagree.
All right. Well, agree to disagree then.
Fine. All right. We got to move on. Cavs training camp was announced today. It will be down at the IMG Academy in Florida at the end of the month already. It starts September 30th through October 6th, I believe, were the dates that I read. I can't believe the Cavs training camp is going to begin already. I feel like
I know it does seem
finished.
like the season just ended.
So
it kind of did. It was just a few months ago.
And they're not going to be training out in Independence down at the IMG Academy. They were the first ever NBA team to do it. Apparently they liked it because they're going back. So
yeah. So hopefully the guys are in shape. Obviously, they get their mojo back together, and we can't be looking at a second round exit again next year, guys. We can't, or else some major changes have to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right. Well, make sure to follow us on social media. We have a great guy taking care of that for us. So he's been full go in that mode. So
yeah, it's your brother.
Yeah,
we can come out and straight up say it.
Yeah. So he's been helping us out a lot with
the man behind the curtain.
That's right. Yeah, peek behind the curtain, as they say. Right. So make sure to check us out on the Instagram and the TikTok and on the Twitter as well. Because we got clips out there and polls and all kind of things of that nature. So, and the username is at CLE
Sports Realm.
Right. So that's that. All right. We are also available to watch or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Derek, have a great trip down to Kentucky, and we'll see everybody next week. Go Browns!
Go Brownies!